Okay. So the Rebbe now is going to explain that we can explain why a covering for the Sefer Torah is necessary. Is it just so that you don't touch the Sefer Torah with your hands, so you have a cloth to touch it with? So that's the person should have a way of moving and holding the Sefer Torah. Or is the cloth an expression that a Torah needs a cloth because it needs respect, covering it and holding it in the higher regard by covering it? That's respect for the Torah. And the third thing is, it's not just a level of respect, but that the cloth becomes part of the Torah itself. Just as the Torah has the parchment that it's written on, it also has a mantle which is part of the Sefer Torah. Let's look inside. Hey, we can say the point of the explanation in all this. The drei deyes v'hasboris in the Pirush v'Nikbar Orum, the three opinions and explanations in the meaning of what does it mean buried naked, how to explain it. What is the naked doing without clothes, without mitzvahs, without that mitzvahs? So that is zayin dem geder from matpachas b'shachel l'sefer Torah. These are the definitions and the boundaries. What is the matpachas? What is this mantle as it relates to the Sefer Torah? As it relates to the Sefer Torah. Was das kann man lernen of Kamoifanim? This can be explained in various ways. Number one, Aleph. Amatpachas is nit negeya to the Sefer Torah atzma. The mantle, the cover, it's not important to the Torah itself. It's just something that has been added. In order for a person to be able to hold on to a Torah, was dos darf sein, that needs to be in an honorable way, not in a way of degrading. So it's for the purpose of the person. So how do you approach the Torah? How do you touch the Torah? It has to be through a mantle. So the purpose of the mantle is something added to the Torah. It's not part of the Torah. It's a means through which the person can approach the Torah. Base. Number two, I'm going to give an example. That's also like they have today a lot of times the yad of the Torah. So in order to be able to point, instead of that, you use the yad. Base. Das ist nicht nur an mir soll kennen euch sein bei Sefer Torah. It's not just so that you should be able to hold the Sefer Torah. Nor das ist negeya u'moisif in koved ha-Sefer Torah mitzad atzma. But rather, this is important and it adds to the honor of the Sefer Torah in of itself. Forget about the person having to come in contact with the Torah. The Torah itself needs a mantle. Koved Sefer Torah fordert. The honor for the Sefer Torah demands, as is that it has a mantle. The sign achar, to use a different style, this is not nor adin in gavra. It's not just a law in the gavra, in the man. That the way the person holds it on, that you need a mantle for the person. Not adin in the chefza from the Sefer Torah, but rather this is a law in the object of a Sefer Torah. A Sefer Torah needs a mantle. The Rebbe gives an additional way to say this. Tzidos is an inyan shlili, whether it's just a negative to avoid a degradation of the Torah. It is a degradation, it's a shame to hold the Sefer Torah without a cover. Or this is actually a positive. It's not just a degradation, but it's a positive. Amit pachas is moisif in kveda sefer Torah bichlal. A cover adds to the general honor of the sefer Torah, not just to avoid having to touch it, degrading it, but it adds. It's a nicer and more respectful. It's the honor of the Torah. So these are the two. Now there's a third one. The third one is dos is nit nor negate to cover the sefer Torah. Not only does it touch and connect it to the honor of the sefer Torah, nor is verbunden und kommt von der etzem sefer Torah v'kedushoso, but it's tied and it comes from the sefer Torah itself and its sanctity. Just as there needs to be the parchment of the sefer Torah, al derech zeh mitzad der kedushas hasefer, because of the sanctity of the sefer, it also needs to have a mantle. That becomes similar to the parchment or the sides of the sefer. It becomes a chelek mimenu. It becomes a part of the sefer Torah. It's the second idea brings honor, but here it's not just honor for the sefer Torah, but becomes part. It is a part of the sefer Torah now. No different than the gilyonis, than the parchments around the sefer Torah. A Torah also has a mantle to it, and this fits what Rebbe explains now with the three opinions in the Gemara. Those are the drei Svaros v'deis in Gemara. These are the three ideas and the opinions in the Gemara. Aleph, loiter deya rishoyna nigbar orum. According to the first opinion, first thought, that he is buried naked, which means kipshut on levushim, which means literally without any clothes on. Nempmen on, that is assumed as the metpachas is blois azayti kezach, that the mantle is just a side matter. A levush to the sefer Torah, it's a garment for the sefer Torah. Underfar, and therefore, is there oynesh far oiches sefer Torah orum. So what's the punishment for the holding the sefer Torah orum? As menemtsu by odom zayne levushim, that you take away from the person his garments. They are separate from him. Mostly for another person. Or to remove the shame of being naked, so you have garments, but they're not for the person, that's for another person mainly. So that's why, if that's the mantle, then that's the punishment, that's the fitting midah keneged midah, to not have the clothes, which is an external part for the person. But the zweite, the second opinion, nikra bar orum b'le mitzvahs, that he is buried orum without mitzvahs, is svarosoi, that logic, as mitpachas is verbunden mit der sefer Torah gufa, that the cloth is connected with the sefer Torah itself. So you cannot, if you just without clothes doesn't fit, because that's an external thing. It's not internal. But the mitpachas, what you hold without mitpachas, you took away from the part of the sefer Torah itself. On the far, according to the second thought opinion, is that oynesh von oiches sefer Torah orum, the punishment for holding on the sefer Torah naked without the mantle, nigbar orum b'le mitzvahs, that he's buried naked without mitzvahs. Well, mitzvahs seinen the levushim for nishmas odom, they are the garments of the soul of man, und von Torah, and the garments of Torah, unit al sazayti kezach. It's not like a side, like the garments of a person. It's not something separate on a side. Nor was is verbunden mit den inyan ha-Torah gufa, but that's connected with what Torah itself is, the mitzvahs. Torah is inyan limud halachas da mitzvahs. The Torah's aspect is to teach us the laws of the mitzvahs. Mitzvahs einen de levushim, and the mitzvahs are the garments durch welchen the halachas ha-Torah werden ausgeführt bepoil, through which the laws of Torah were are being accomplished in actuality, totally different than the garments of a person, which are just there for somebody else. Over there, you learn the Torah how to do the mitzvahs, and the mitzvahs are the ones that accomplish the Torah, because that's how you, in practical, you fulfill the Torah. Similar is the person who learns Torah, und ist geglichen geworden zu Torah, and he's been equated to Torah, so ist Torah Adam Kanal. So that person has seine levushim le'inyan ha-Torah shaboy, that what is his garments? As what's the garments for the Torah that he learns? Seine mitzvahs. So the mitzvahs are the garments. And therefore, for not covering the Torah with its mantle, which is a connection to it, it's the honor of the Torah. So the person loses his mitzvahs, his garments. Gimel, but loy the teretz von Abaye nigbar orum below is a mitzvah. But according to the Abaye's conclusion, that it's without that mitzvah, kommt ois wie der dritte Reifen, that comes out like the third way. As matpachas is nicht kein besondere Sach, was wird verbunden mit Sefer Torah. The cloth is not like something else which is connected with the Torah, nor severt al derech achelik von der Sefer Torah. It becomes part of the Sefer Torah. So according to the opinion of Abaye, that the cloth is part of the Torah, it's part of the sanctity of the Torah itself. So in his opinion, Kemen Nitzogen, as the Einish is, that the punishment is, was mentioned by him stu, stam mitzvahs, that you just take away mitzvahs from him. Because mitzvahs still is not the same as Torah. Bald as mitzvahs seinen, aber so der Sach levushim von Torah von dem Odom, because mitzvahs are something separate from Torah and from the person. So taking that away does not match up to what the person did, that he held on to the Torah without the mantle. Nor orum beloy oiso mitzvah. He doesn't have that mitzvah, their mitzvah gufa. He doesn't have a matpachas was is a chelek from the Sefer Torah. He doesn't have a part of that mitzvah that the matpachas is part of the Sefer Torah, as the Rebbe will explain in Siv Zayin. And this is the special mitzvah, the mitzvah of matpachas, which becomes part of the Sefer Torah. And the Rebbe adds now in the brackets, in the midveh teich tzukum and atoysus biur. This will also give us additional explanation in the shayches tzvishu maimed de Rapanach, the connection between this statement of Rapanach about burying, getting buried without clothes for holding the Torah without the mantle, in with the maimed shalachar is with this statement that follows. Amar Rabbi Yanai Chulu, says Rabbi Yanai, mutav tigolel hamit pachas va'al yigolel sefer Torah. So we're better off rolling the matpachas. That means when you have to roll the sefer Torah, so to roll it with the mantle, but not to roll the Sefer Torah itself without the matpachas. Sefer Torah matpachas inside of the matpachas to roll the Torah. No, you want to roll the matpachas. You want them to constantly never to touch the Sefer Torah. As this is nit nor. So what's the connection? Nit nor val beide memres reden wegen matpachas. Not because they're both talking about the mantle. No, this is a hemshach b'gufa inyan, but this is a continuation in the idea itself. Loy der maskona azmat pachas is nit kezaitiker levush to der Sefer Torah, according to the conclusion that matpachas is not a side garment to the Sefer Torah. Unafila nit kein levush was vert verbunden mit the Sefer Torah. And it's not even a garment that is connected to the Sefer Torah, like we said for the Sefer Torah. Nor is the Zachelik from the Sefer Torah Gufa. It's part of the Sefer Torah itself. So since it's the Torah itself, what you can sagen, as is kin chilik neitzim is goylo de matpachas, it would make a difference if you're rolling the matpachas, the mantle, arum der Sefer Torah, around the Sefer Torah, or the misgoylo the Sefer Torah b'sechem matpachas, or you're rolling the Sefer Torah inside of the matpachas. Zokt Rabbi Yana asks, Isur is taken nito, there's taken no prohibition. Weil the matpachas is bedugmas gilyoine Sefer Torah v'zayna l'maylu l'mato, because the matpachas is similar to the edges of the sidebars of the Sefer Torah, above and below. I mean the gilyoines, the aber es is mutav at the golam matpachas. It's still better to roll the cloth, the mantle, valas is fortni de atzma Torah, because it's still not the Torah itself. Zion. The Gemara sagt, Hakoreya al Meisei b'Shabbos. If one would be rendering his garment on Shabbos, Kriya, he's doing Kriya on Shabbos. Ava Pisha Mechalel as Shabbos, even though, again, Zion, the Gemara sagt, the Gemara says, "Has hakireya al meisa b'Shabbos." If he does kriya on Shabbos, avapi shemachalalas Shabbos, although he's desecrating the Shabbos, still yotzo yidei kriya. He fulfills the obligation of kriya. So it needs to therefore come out in our case when even though that while he's holding on to the Sefer Torah without the mantle naked, you're doing something not desirable. You don't lose the mitzvah of holding the Torah. The Aveda in them oifen ha'achiza, when you are doing an Aveda and not holding it properly, nemnitzu, the mitzvah ha'achiza, does not negate and take away the mitzvah of holding on. Und das ist the Rebusel das yesh meforshim that the Rebbe brings down. That is the Chiddush. In the dritter svara, within the third svara. As though is nit mekayim the mitzvah, that he is not fulfilling the mitzvah. Val mitpachas is nit kein bazundere Zach von Sefer Torah. It is not something separate from Sefer Torah. You can't say he's holding the Torah, but not in a proper way. It's not something separate. Nor is a Chelek von Sefer Torah. It's part of the Sefer Torah. Und der Farbe is euches bis Sefer Torah orum. Belimit pachas, when you're holding the Sefer Torah naked without the mantle felt in the Sefer Torah atzmai. So therefore, then you don't have the Sefer Torah itself. And b'meilei mitzvah zachiz Sefer Torah, you're not really holding the Sefer Torah because that Sefer Torah does not have the mantle. It's not part of the holding of the Sefer Torah. There's no Sefer Torah, full Sefer Torah there, and therefore there's no mitzvah. You're missing in the midst of the Sefer Torah. Tosfos will aber nit onnem and then Pirush. Tosfos does not want to accept this interpretation. Because according to this, it will turn out as Leutun Tirut von Abaye, that according to the answer of Abaye, that it means mitzvah beitzich der pirush nigbar orum. We're changing now what it means buried naked. Now, according to Abaye, beloisa mitzvah. Loy der erste zwei panim. According to the first two ways, is dos an einish. It's a punishment. Menem by imtsu an inyan. Levushim vasarot mitzad atzma. You take away something, garments that you have on your own, and you take it away. It's not connected to the person himself. But ulay the maskona orum beloy oisam mitzvah is the chisorn in zayin kima mitzvah. Orum beloy mitzvah means the mitzvah wasn't done properly because it didn't have a mantle. It is orum from the mitzvah atzme, is naked from the mitzvah itself, not from the cover of the mitzvah, according to the pshat of the Yesh Meforshim. From Pashtus Loshna Gemara, but is mashma, the simple language of the Gemara, it appears as loit alle drei deyes, that according to all three opinions is the gather for nikbar orum. The definition of being buried naked is the same. An einish is a punishment. You take something away from him. Not that we're changing, you're saying you didn't do a mitzvah. We're just taking something away. The riba learned riva as nikbar orum below oisa mitzvah meant. What does it mean to be buried without a mitzvah? Without that mitzvah means below oisa mitzvah also ba'isa shah, without the mitzvah that he's doing at that time. She'im ochas sefer Torah orum v'korabay. If you were holding the sefer Torah orum and reading, ein lo schar min hakriya, you don't have reward from the reading chulu. Was mitzvahs kriyot mekayim given, you fulfill the mitzvah of kriya. Nor mizim meinish, you get a punishment. By imsu dem schar min hakriya, we take away the schar of the kriya because he held the sefer Torah orum. So it seems that it's consistent now, the third opinion with the other two opinions, that you're taking something away, not like according to the Yesh Meforshim, there would be missing that you have not been done the meaning, that they hadn't done the mitzvah problem. Because deeper than this, we can say more than that. You can say as the Yesh Meforshim on Rivo, in them etzem gather from Pachas, that they have a disagreement also in what's the actual definition of the cloth. Before we said it's not a difference. Only the cloth is part of the mitzvah, is part of the Sefer Torah, but the only thing is that you lose another mitzvah that you're doing, or you're not doing this mitzvah according to the Yesh Meforshim. But now we're going to say there's a difference in what exactly is the definition of mitpachas. L'dasa yesh meforshim is mitpachas an inyan no chelek blois from mitzias as Sefer Torah. We're saying it's a part of the Sefer Torah, but it's just the existence of the Sefer Torah. Because the farid is verbunden blois mit mitzvah sa'achiza. That's why it is only associated to the mitzvah when you hold it. So it's not a part of the Sefer Torah, but it's associated to holding it. Das hat aber kein Scheiches nicht zu the mitzvah Adam, but that has not a connection to the mitzvahs of the person who are verbunden, that are connected with the Torah, mit dem Teuchen und Torah, belamdung emersima befiem, to learn it, to put in their mouth for Sefer Torah. So the person is not connected to the content, to Torah, the meaning, the study, the learning, the placing of Sefer Torah. We're just the external part, the handling the physical part of the Sefer Torah. Under far, so according to the Yesh Meforshim, it's only mitziza Sefer Torah. The far kemenit lernen as orum beloy oisa mitzvah. You can't say that oisa mitzvah means main the mitzvah from kriya, that the mitzvah that he's reading at that time, he doesn't get it. But the kriya, that doesn't really have any connection to the cloth of the sefer, because reading from the Torah is not part. The cloth serves only the physical, not the learning, not the study. Und der Rebbe kennt nicht der Isur von euch Sefer Torah on Amitpachas. That's why this prohibition to hold a Sefer Torah without a cloth under in the mitzvah of Kriya, it cannot touch the mitzvah of Kriya. It cannot affect it. So we can't punish you by another mitzvah which is not associated to the mitpachas bechlal, because the mitpachas is just to the physical Sefer Torah. Aderech Loshna Yerushalmi the Mechiluk, similar to the language of the Yerushalmi when he makes the difference from Hakoreya b'Shabbos was Yotze Yidei Kriya. So if you rendered your garment on Shabbos, we say you fulfilled the mitzvah of Kriya, even though you didn't aveda. But if he stole matzah, then he will not fulfill his obligation of Pesach with that matzah. Tamon gufa aveda. That over here, when he rips the garment on Shabbos, he is the one that's doing the aveda. No, over there, the matzah gezula is guf aveda. That's aveda itself. You can't. The matzah is aveda dike matzah. You can't fulfill with aveda dike matzah. But the kareh b'Shabbos, b'ram hocho hu over aveda. The rendering, the person does that is the gavra. As dos vos hu over aveda b'shas de asiya. The fact that he does an aveda, that he renders his garment, when he's rendering ritnit on the mitzvah's kriya, doesn't impact. So the kriya is a good kriya. So the same thing is, it would not impact the reading of the Torah, even though you're holding the Torah without a matlis, without a matpachas. The das or riba, however, according to Pino Riba, hodim mish matpachas hashaychus to them close inyan hasefer Torah. The clause have the connection to the general idea of Sefer Torah, not just to the physical outside. All the protes Sefer Torahs and Ekshurim Zabazeh, all the details of the Sefer Torah are tied to one another. And therefore, when Ochas Sefer Torah Orum, if you held the Sefer Torah naked, felt in the Shlemus from Kriya B'Torah, you are missing in the wholesomeness of reading the Torah. You can't give you the schar choch as in Maisa Odom. Even though the person's act two separate, one is reading Achizah and Kriya. If you held it wrong, it also impacts the Kriya as well. That's Apikon Nalvet when ich verstehen. Based on all the above, we'll also understand what Toysvus Firtois, that Toysvus concludes. He holds it up with the cloth, then we have Eirech Yomim B'Mino B'Smoilo Shevakoven. Chazal Zogden as their posik. Chazal's the posik. Eirech Yomim B'Mino B'Smoilo Shevakoven. Red wegen zwei Zugim mit Lim Torah. This talks about two categories in those who learn Torah. Lemay Minim B'Yimino B'Eirech Yomim. Those who do it with the right, Eirech Yomim. But even if you do it with the left, you get wealth and honor. Taich Trashi. My minim ba is oiskim l'shma. Do the right means l'shma. And masmilim means shaloi l'shma, not l'shma. But that was the Gemara Zok l'masmilim ba oishav v'kovet, to those who do it shaloi l'shma, they get wealth and honor. Is move on as this mate nit an oifud in shaloi l'shma. So we're not talking about he does it not for the purpose, the real totally, about which our sages says, sometimes you don't have a merit, you're learning Torah, it becomes like poison for you, a drug of poison, of death. So we wouldn't say that you get the Isha V'chovet l'masmilim bo. Nor azal shaloi l'shmo, we're still talking shaloi l'shmo, even if you're learning it for the wrong purposes, it's not lishma, but still, it'll bring you wealth and honor. The bir bazeh. So why is that? How's that? We read many, spoke many times. when we're talking about not for the sake on a refined level, it doesn't just mean that you're learning shaloi lishma, you're learning because of an ulterior, something, a motive. But it's not verbunden mit avodas Hashem, which is not associated with avodas Hashem. It doesn't mean that level. It means if a person learns for the purpose of mitzvahs, to know what to do, is shaloi lishma. It's not for the sake of Torah, it's for the sake of knowing what to do. The limud is nit l'shem ha-Torah. That learning is not for the Torah. Limud ha-Torah atzma, learning Torah itself. Nor tzulib kima mitzvahs. It's because to learn the mitzvahs, to do the mitzvahs. Lishma b'shleimus meint. What does it mean? Fully lishma. Limud ha-Torah l'shem ha-sogas ha-Torah atzma. To learn Torah, just to be able to grasp Torah itself. Al-derech loshen chazal, similar to the language of our sages of blessed memory, they say, Drosh v'kabel schar. Expound and get rewarded. Aber nicht drosh tzulibun kabel schar. You're not darshaning in order to get the schar. Darshan. And then the schar will come. Yagdul Torah v'yadim. Let the Torah become great and increase, but not for any purpose. Und das ist euch der Inyan von Matpachas shel Sefer Torah beruchnis. This is also the spiritual idea of a cloth, of a mantle, which I said before, is a part of the Sefer Torah itself, the body of the Torah. The limud kidei leidas ha'maisa asher yasun is mukhrach. To study in order to know what you need to do, that's essential, that's a must. You have to. Not only is it a must, that comes first before any study Torah. Aber das is noch nicht limud ha-Torah mitzad atzma. That's not the level of Torah on its own. Nor to live mitzvahs cannot, but that is for mitzvahs, I said before. Le'idach aber, where on the other hand, is das nicht v'asiyas ha-mitzvahs. That's not like doing the mitzvahs when you're doing for mitzvahs, but zayin and abezundar zach for limud ha-Torah, which are separate. You learn and then you do. She's nor v'zei zayin and levushim, but these are garments. V'zayin verbunden mit Torah. Those are garments that are associated with Torah. They're separate. They're garments. They're associated with Torah, but they're not Torah, the mitzvahs. They're connected to Torah. The halachas ha-Torah werden durchgeführt in asiyas ha-mitzvah. The laws of Torah become accomplished or brought through doing the mitzvahs. That's the ma'aseh. But the learning for doing, you're not doing anything. You're just learning for doing. No, this is lechatchila ein zach mit Torah. This is one with Torah. You're learning to know what to do. Says einer von dei farim limud Torah. One of the ways to study is to study to know what to do. But no legabe limud Torah lishma, relative to the highest level of learning for the sake of Torah, l'shem Torah atzma, for Torah itself is der limud bedugmat samat pachas v'levush for guf. That's then similar to a mantle and a garment of the body from guf, v'amitis halimud, to the true study. True study is lishma. But if you study to know what to do, then that's a study which becomes like a cloth and a garment from the body. And this is Tosus Messiah, and this is what Tosus concludes. When you hold it with the cloth, and then mit v'korbei, and you read, wie Tosus sagt früher, talked about when you're reading it, is Eirich Yomim b'mina b'smeidach shev'chavet, b'shas mehot beid inyonim, sai masmilim bo, both on the left, shaloi l'shmo, you're doing shaloi l'shmo. The limud leida samais shiyas. We're talking about learning what to do. Versus merumas in ochze b'matpachas. That's hinted because you're holding it matpachas. Unsai v'koro, and you read it. which was made the krivelim b'Torah lishmo shema Torah my minim chutbo. That means to learn the proper. You have both. Then you get both level of reward. Sai erechem b'mina, usai b'smoila shebechovet. Also b'smoila shebechovet kipshutam l'matam asoret tvachim. Literally l'matam asoret tvachim bis. Der erech yomim eisha bekovet hamitis. Hamitiyim bebis mashich tzidkenu b'mheira b'yameinu mamash. This is Mesichas Matzoi Shabbos Kodesh Yud Shvat V'chov Shvat Tovshin Lamed. And the star says that this Sikha was said in connection to the writing of the Sefer Torah to greet Mashiach on Erev Yud Shvat, Erev Shabbos Kodesh Yud Shvat Tovshin Lamed.